probably wondering why I'm reviewing OKKO's Super Black Friday episode instead of reviewing it on Black Friday nearly a week ago. Well, the thing is, regardless if this is a Thanksgiving episode, it's a Black Friday Christmas theme episode. Yes, I am fully aware that this screams Thanksgiving when it comes to food and families being together, even though the Christmas have those elements during that holiday, but at the same time, the way that this episode is executed, similar to Steven Universe quite a bit, is the fact that both shows don't have holidays of any kind. Seriously, Monster Party, regardless if it's Halloween themed, isn't involving Halloween whatsoever, and by the looks of this, you can mistaken this as a Thanksgiving episode but also a Christmas episode, to which I've been thinking constantly that this should be a Thanksgiving episode, but at the end of the day, with the appearance of Principal Claus, it's most likely a Christmas episode. The plot of this episode centers around KO, Enid, and Rad stuck at doing work while Super Black Friday comes along during the holidays. And to be perfectly honest, for anyone who experienced Black Friday in the past, especially when it comes to low sales online, it really feels like that this entire episode's purpose is to show that the workers, mainly KO, Enid, and Rad, are dealing with Black Friday shoppers. The majority of this episode just centers around Principal Claus, who is the character who, let's be honest, represents Santa Claus in the OKKO universe, teaching the other characters about what Black Friday means to everyone. Like, even if you're mostly new to Black Friday when it comes to being an employee or a shopper, you will probably know how difficult it is when it comes to getting along completely until Black Friday begins. Like, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, with this episode's intentions on what Black Friday is in the OKKO universe, it's mainly how Principal Claus sees the Black Friday shoppers as his own people. And for me personally, the fact that this type of Santa is a completely different Santa instead of the Santa who delivers gifts really sums up in the fact of why Black Friday is Super Black Friday in this universe. Like, it really goes to show that OKKO, without using Christmas similar to Steven Universe, can make this format a lot more interesting. And let me tell you, the way that this episode is executed from beginning to end sums up onto why that this is a Christmas episode, despite also being a Thanksgiving episode. In Thanksgiving, or in this world's building, Shanksgiving, it's mostly the same, and for me personally, the fact that it really centers around KO's mother just being alone at times, and she only returns towards the end of the episode after Black Friday is completely done, really sums up with the fact that they wanted to make the most out of it when it comes to family traditions, and when it comes to Shanksgiving, it really goes to show that two people, mainly KO and her mother, just isn't enough, and the direction of KO walking while dealing with Black Friday itself, or Super Black Friday, sums up the nature of this episode being a slightly Thanksgiving traditional episode. If this episode was just Thanksgiving and nothing more, then I'm pretty sure that the tone of the episode won't work. Like, granted, they did come up with Thanksgiving with Shanksgiving at the same time, but it really feels like that they just didn't know what to do involving Christmas, regardless if they're creating their own world building involving the original characters. To be honest with you, OKKO may be a show that is supposed to be its own thing that doesn't require holidays completely. But let's be real, the Super Black Friday sequence where everyone just goes into the shop and just buying what they want, only for a minute later it's all over with, really sums up the logic that this show has provided, and the fact that the comedy is at its highest when it comes to moments like this. Granted, I can understand that Shanksgiving would still be an episode involving family traditions without any of the Black Friday materials, but at the same time, this is basically a point of view of KO, Enid, and Rad's situation involving Super Black Friday. And if you replace Principal Claus with a different character entirely, it won't even work. Mainly the fact that Principal Claus in this universe knows about Super Black Friday, other than just going to house by delivering gifts to children from all over the world of OKKO. And if there was ever a chance that this show ends up getting an actual Christmas episode, then it will probably center around KO and Principal Claus working together to spread cheer around the world. I mean, granted, it's predictable, but for how little that this show got in the production of 3 seasons it got, I really felt like there would have been a lot more if more seasons were ordered. In all honesty, this episode itself, being an OKKO episode at most, really gave me the impression that this is mainly about Black Friday than a Thanksgiving or a Christmas holiday traditional episode. I mean, granted, like I said, this is close to being a Christmas episode and slightly when it comes to Thanksgiving, but the intention of this is Black Friday. But let's be real, we all go shopping during Black Friday regardless, and we do everything in our power to get the stuff that we needed before Christmas comes around. Like, if you go shopping during December, you would still deal with sales that are higher, but at the same time, you would rather take your chances during Black Friday, regardless if you're gonna get an injury or a concussion. And I'm not saying that to be a bit sarcastic. It's mainly the fact that this episode is toned down of what Black Friday really is, when it's supposed to be much more longer than a minute entirely. And after that minute of madness, which is Super Black Friday, KO's mother and Mr. Gar arrives at the bodega and they celebrate Thanksgiving with everyone. To be perfectly honest, it really feels like that everyone wins at the end, especially of how it's portraying Super Black Friday, that it only happens in a minute, and that minute of madness is pretty much the only thing you're gonna have throughout the majority of Super Black Friday if you're living in this world. And we get to see Principal Claus doing his work, which isn't the same as being a Santa in any other Christmas fiction world. Like, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, just seeing the ending like this was supposed to be a happy ending really sums up the fact that this is slightly a Christmas episode regardless if it's taking place in November, if calendars in this world are similar to ours. All in all, I wouldn't say that this is one of my favorite Christmas episodes, despite being limited to a Christmas episode, but on the other hand, it's an episode that you shouldn't miss when it comes to Black Friday itself. Even though that this world's idea of Black Friday is different from our Black Friday, but at the same time, a lot can happen in OKKO. I'm mostly disappointed that I didn't talk about the Halloween episode, which is Monster Party, along with the development that it had involving Enid, but at the same time, I've already made a trilogy of 3 episodes centering around Enid's relationship with Red Action, which is the closest I can give involving one of the characters. So I guess the only thing I can take from it is that whenever I get back to reviewing an episode from the show, it will probably be centering around Rad at least. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen in the future when it comes to this show, but at the same time, there is still a chance I might talk about an episode involving Rad. But only time would tell. Maybe when it comes to Valentine's Day season or something, maybe that's where I can be able to review an episode involving Rad, even though that KO's mother and Mr. Growl have a relationship with each other, but at the same time, it's only what's going to happen in the future involving my decisions of reviewing more episodes from this show. I'm giving Super Black Friday a 6.5 out of 10.